Hello, subscribers to Bernando Lapalo's channel. It is Sunday, June 16th, and today is Father's Day. So I wanted to come on here and just read the introduction from Bernando's first book, Age Less, Live More, Achieving Health and Vitality at 107 Years and Beyond, because a lot of you aren't really familiar with the book. Um, and it's Father's Day, and of course, he left a lot of wisdom. That's part of his legacy, is he left a lot of wisdom in these, very easy to read books. So I wanted to share it with you and really kind of provide an introduction to those who have been kind enough to subscribe to this channel, and also a refresher for myself included, who have been long-time subscribers to this channel. Again, it is June 16th, 2024. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Erica, and I'm Bernardo's oldest grandchild. So just to give a little bit of background, on Bernando, he was born on August 17th, 1901, to Bernando Lapalo Sr. and his wife, and in Brazil, and then eventually migrated as a child to the United States of America, because Bernando's father wanted to pursue other opportunities in his professional life. And America, of course, seemed to be a very, very promising place to be. So eventually Bernando would kind of follow in his father's footsteps in terms of making his health his first priority. That was definitely his credo. And I hope that you can make it your priority too, because of course health is wealth. And when you don't have your health, you can't do anything. So, of course, yes, we're all going to die sometime, but Bernando always said that he was making plans to live. He knew he had to die sometime, but he was making plans to live. And the other thing he always said was that, what is the point, or there's no quality of life, I'm paraphrasing, to be driving around in a beat up car, right? So those of you who are car owners know what it's like when your car is on its last legs. Hard to get it started, it lurches, and so on. There's all kinds of problems. So he always considered that, or at least the way he explained it to me, was that the body was a machine, essentially a very sophisticated machine that houses the soul. And that, like a car, to compare it to a machine that most of us are familiar with, that, if you don't have enough gas in the car, it's not going to run properly. If you don't have enough fluid in the car, it's not going to run properly. If you don't have enough oil in the car, it's not going to run properly. If it doesn't get it tune-ups, it's not going to run properly. And there you go. There you go. Okay, so I see people are coming on here. Rudy K, BM Ellis, Mohammedan 1. Yeah, my lips. So sometimes I get cold sores, which is weird, like even in the summer. So what I've done is that I just put honey on it. And I put honey on it last night, and the honey is amazing because the honey actually has, how shall I say, what's the word? It's like, sometimes when you get a cold sore, it's kind of runny. But when I put the honey on it and woke up this morning, it was all just kind of sealed and then just concentrated into this one little dot right here. So it'll be gone in a couple of days. You just basically just put honey on it, which actually, if I hadn't mentioned it before, Bernando also recommended honey for people that had different kinds of skin conditions. It's fairly well known, at least among women, who are kind of obsessed with the quality of their skin, that honey is a great thing to put on your skin, to moisturize your skin, to heal your skin. There was a cure-all, which I haven't tried yet, because I kind of want to have a space to do that where I won't disturb the person that I live with. But apparently, Grandpa used to make a cure-all using honey, cinnamon, and even garlic, and just kind of applying that on as a paste for people that I guess had some pretty severe skin conditions. So there you go. Anyway, if you ever, have a burn or have a cold sore, or you've just got some kind of annoying bruise that won't seem to heal, just take some honey, some honey that has not been heated, and apply it to that, and within a couple of days you're going to see it improve and heal. So there you go. Honey is actually one of the top 10 foods in Bernando's book, and there you go. It was part of his medicine chest. So I just, I basically just do what my grandfather said to do. So yes, I have a material body just like you do, and sometimes things happen. But the important thing is to know how to address it. No, my lip is fine. It's just a cold sore, JM0686. There's no reason to be dramatic, y'all. I'm fine. Okay, so the reason why I came on here is to read a passage from this book, Age Less, Live More. Like, I'm very kind of down to earth and straight ahead. I appreciate your concern, but it's really not the end of the world. I'm sure that you've all had a cold sore at one point or another in your life, for most of you. It's pretty common. So again, instead of using Ambisol or whatever the heck those other things they do, just put some honey on your lip and keep that up for a couple of days and it will heal. Okay. No, it's not a wasp bite. If it were a wasp bite, I wouldn't even be on here. It's a cold sore. Okay, I'm going to read this passage, so pay attention. This is the introduction to Age Less, Live More on page 17, Achieving Health and Vitality at 107 years and beyond. And this is what Bernando has to say about the reason why he wrote this book, okay? And what's in the book. I am 107 years old. To me, there is nothing astounding about that fact. But because I am not just 107 years old, but also healthy, fit, and mentally aware, I seem to elicit a reaction from those around me bordering on awe and disbelief. Not a day goes by that someone doesn't corner me and ask the inevitable question, "You're how old? How do you do it? What's your secret?" Of course, my friends who know me chuckle with delight when they see the reactions of those who find out my age for the first time. To them, it's as natural as it is to me. Why shouldn't someone be able to live past 100 and still be vital? The last time I went to have my yearly physical, once again, the word about my age spread, and before I knew it, I was surrounded by every doctor in the hospital. They could not believe that a man of 106 could look like me, talk and walk like me, and even, heaven forbid, have a sense of humor. There have been articles and news stories written about me, and I've been on television more than once. It always amuses me to see people's reactions because, frankly, I see myself as quite normal. In Brazil, where I was born, there are many who live to be 110 or even longer. Still, no matter where I go, the store, to church, or a meeting, I am surrounded by inquiring souls, probing, asking, and trying to find out whether they too might enjoy a long, pain and disease-free life. Finally, I decided that it was time to share what I know in a way that might reach as many people as possible. The knowledge that I hope to pass along came primarily from my father, a well-respected doctor, as well as from a lifetime that has spanned 4 different careers. The advice that I will share is not difficult to follow, but it can be literally life-altering if a suitable effort is made. There are 3 basic principles that I would like to share with the readers of this book. They are all equally important and all are necessary if one wishes to live a life that will never be a burden to others and provide a quality to their lives that they may never have thought possible. It will require a paradigm shift, but it's easier than one might think. The first aspect I'll be discussing is the importance of maintaining a positive, optimistic outlook on life. There have been studies that show that people who are optimistic not only live on average of 7 years longer, but suffer fewer ailments than the normal population. That statistic alone should be enough motivation for most to change their outlook. I believe in and try to live my life based on the golden rule. To paraphrase, I want everybody to have what I have. I also believe that every person and every situation that comes our way, both good and bad, is there for a reason and to teach us something important. There is no need to avoid or dread any negative circumstance if we look at it as an opportunity to learn. A second component that I would like to stress is the need for physical movement and exercise. We know that a body in motion stays in motion. One needs to let the muscles do what they were designed to do by walking, stretching, and other movement. Exercise also applies to the mind. Just as the muscles of the body will atrophy without daily use, so too will the mind weaken without proper stimulation. I, for instance, try to read for a few hours every day. Not only does this exercise my mind, but it adds to my knowledge on a multitude of subjects. From doing puzzles or working out math problems without a calculator to writing, there are hundreds of ways to keep one's mind fit and strong. Finally, the food we eat is perhaps the most important factor affecting the overall quality and quantity of our lives. The closer we can get to eating foods the way God made them, the better we'll feel and the longer we'll live. He did not put preservatives into the earth so that the vegetables and fruits would remain on the tree for months without going bad. He did not place a microwave oven under the tree of life so that his children could eat mushy, nutrient-deprived food. He gave us raw fruits and vegetables that could serve as the backbone for a healthy diet. And by eating these foods, one's life will be significantly changed for the better. The final chapters of this book will provide a roadmap to healthy nutrition, specific details on what to eat, what not to eat, and why. There are many foods, all commonly available, that when prepared correctly, offer a panacea of healthy benefits. Many of them are quite probably inside of your refrigerator or your pantry right now. I will discuss each in detail and give instructions for their preparation and use. I'll also be providing valuable information on a product that I truly believe in and that I have been using for more than 25 years with marvelous health-enhancing results. I'm speaking on Dr. Schultz's superfood, a mixture of vegetables, fruits, herbs, vitamins, and minerals that is mixed as a drink and taken daily. I find it to be of immense value, and I believe that you will too. I've spent my entire life practicing these principles, and I know that they work. I've seen others follow the same rules and have similar results. I believe that anyone who is willing to keep an open mind and follow the simple guidelines within these pages will live not just a longer life, but a life that's worth living. So read on, and thank you for sharing this amazing journey with me. So these wonderful words were written about a year before this book actually was self-published on lulubooks.com. It was put together with the wonderful assistance of Anne Cornelius and her husband Ron Seethofer. I hope I'm saying Ron's name properly. And it's just so inspiring when you hear from someone who's 107 years old who is this lucid. The thing that I love also about Bernando's life, my grandfather's life, is that he really exemplifies how important it is to listen to our elders. My grandfather, just being who he was, instilled a deep respect in me for our elders. It's very, 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 very important. It's also important, for our elderly population to take care of their health. I would say now more than ever, because we don't really have a society, we don't really have a structure that is encouraging this kind of proactive daily discipline or the embrace of a lifestyle to support your health. So my grandfather lived such a long time, 4 generations, almost 5 generations, passing away at 114. Over the course of your lifetime, you meet many, many people, you make friends, and sometimes we lose those friends. And I can say in my own life, and I'm not even as old as Bernando when he passed away. I'm still a youngster as far as he would be concerned at the mere age of 61. But I have seen friends of mine who didn't take precautions seriously pass away or just undergo terrible suffering. Like I can think of an anecdote actually that Bernando told me one day, where he said that there was this gentleman that he knew when he was living in Arizona that used to drink a lot of soda pop, a lot of whatever brand of soda pop that he was drinking. So much so, to the point that he actually had kind of a very big gut, from doing that. But by the same token, this gentleman would go on hikes. Of course, hiking is a very popular thing to do in Arizona. So, my grandfather at one point would also go on hikes too. But at any rate, he said he saw the man one day and he just had this feeling, and he said to him, "You really need to stop drinking that soda pop. It's not good for you." And the guy said something like, "Oh yeah, I'll get to it." And my grandfather said he didn't say it out loud, but he thought it, and he thought, "Well, you better get to it soon." And then he said, and you know what happened? That man dropped dead like a week later. So, we can fool ourselves in thinking that we can abuse our vital organs for as long as we want to, and that we're not going to have to pay the price for that. And although the human body is remarkably resilient, it, like everything else, has its limits. And the liver, which is responsible for being the filtration system for the entire body, for the blood, and also produces all the digestive biles, right? All the biles that help you digest your food, is extremely important, which is why Bernando's phrase used to be, remember this, keep your liver and your colon clean. So initially when he started, kind of giving people kind of his little parting words, especially when he was signing books, at first he would just say, keep your colon clean. But as time passed and he started to realize how people were not keeping their livers clean, how people were abusing their livers and the price that they were paying for that, he began to include, remember this, keep your liver and your colon clean, right? Keep your liver and your colon clean. So that's just one example. It's interesting that the word liver has the word live in it. So this is just some food for thought. I'm just going to share with you briefly, without going into great detail here, that this book, it's not very long. It's only 153 pages long. This is the paperback version of it. And it's divided into just a few chapters. The first chapter is called The Philosophy of Faith. And the quote in it says, nobody grows old merely by living a number of years. We grow old by deserting our ideals. Years may wrinkle the skin, but give up enthusiasm wrinkles the soul. So in this first chapter, Grandpa is really talking about the way in which he uses introspection, looking within, to keep himself youthful, right? Not just not thinking that he couldn't learn, not becoming, bitter, none of those things, and how important that is, how it really is kind of an elixir of youth. We might not think of it that way in our Botox-driven culture, but it's important. Then the second thing he lists in the first chapter is living on purpose and the golden rule. So he talks about how important it is to have a purpose in life, to have a passion in life, to live on purpose in your life, to wake up every day feeling that you have a purpose to fulfill. I know for a fact that this was a big motivation for him, that he felt that he had a purpose, and that he felt that his purpose was to help other people, again, have the same thing that he had. And as he already mentioned in the introduction, to live by the golden rule, to treat other people the way that you would want to be treated. Because after all, it becomes very difficult to live day to day if you're creating enmity wherever you go, right? It's much easier to live when people see you, they're happy to see you because you create a feeling of goodwill. The other thing that he talks about in this book is that stress. He talks about stress. He talks about healthy stress, and he talks about stress that will actually wear you down. He used to say that stress is a killer, and that it can engender, different maladies, right? Different diseases. People have heart attacks behind stress, or develop all kinds of things behind stress. So he talks about, both sides of that coin, what's healthy and what's not healthy. He also talks about the kind of company that you keep, how it's important to keep good company. Very important. You want to be around positive people. You don't want to be around negative people. You want to be around people, that you keep close to you that care about themselves, right? Not people that are abusing themselves, but people that care about themselves. It doesn't mean, of course, that you're still going to treat everyone, with the golden rule, but your environment is but a looking glass. And then he also talks about his own faith in this book and the importance of his spiritual life, about keeping him in a positive frame of mind. In the second chapter, chapter 2, is called An Object in Motion. And the little quote says, "How old would you be if you didn't know how old you are?" by Satchel Paige. So he begins talking about it a little bit philosophically, quoting from a Chinese book of wisdom, which says, "At birth you are supple and soft. At death you are stiff and hard. Grass and trees are pliant and tender when living, but they are dry and brittle when dead. Therefore, the stiff and hard are attendants of death, and the supple and soft are attendants of life." So he's really talking about the importance of keeping things moving. How important it is, to exercise, to stretch, to walk, right? It's good for your circulation. Circulation is really, really an important thing because it keeps blood going through your arteries, through your brain, through your heart, and through really every organ in your body. And of course, the skin is the biggest organ of your body. So he talks about, the way that he walks, the method that he walks, and the benefits of walking, like reducing blood pressure and so on and so forth. Then he talks about the process of aging. He talks about DNA, he talks about telomeres, he talks about that. And then he talks about the importance of the lymphatic system and how walking is very useful in keeping the lymphatic system draining, the different toxins that can accumulate in your body. So there's a lot of practical advice in here. He also talks about the importance of breathing and the importance of breathing fresh air. Let me see. So this is a pretty lengthy chapter. Then he talks about the importance of massage. Of course, Bernando was a massage therapist as well. So he talks about the importance of touch. He talks about the importance of taking care of your feet. And he also talks about keeping the brain healthy, which he already touched upon in the introduction of the book by reading and doing crossword puzzles and so on and so forth. Then, when we get to the third chapter, he talks about offerings for the temple. Nothing will benefit human health and increase the chances for survival of life on Earth as much as the evolution to a vegetarian diet. So he's actually quoting Albert Einstein here in chapter 3. And in chapter 3, he breaks down, well, first he talks about how his father imparted a unique viewpoint to him as a doctor and an herbalist, which basically boils down to let food be thy medicine, right? So there's some very cool anecdotes in here and a very curious little Bernando questioning his father about certain things he was putting in his medicine bag back in the day, the beginning of the 20th century. He talks about salt. He talks about fresh fruits, fresh foods in general. He talks about processed sugar, refined sugar that he actually eschewed. He was a big fan of honey. He talks about the side effects of too much sugar. And then, of course, he also gets into his top 10 foods This does not mean that he did not appreciate other fruits and vegetables, but you know, if he was going to narrow it down, this is what he narrowed it down to. So he talks about, of course, blueberries. You all know that he loved blueberries and how good it is for the brain. He talked about olive oil. I've been doing a series on here called The Great Olive Oil Hunt, trying to educate myself and us learning together about how to source excellent olive oils, particularly if you live in the United States of America, so it's not evident. Uh, episode 2 is up as of yesterday or the day before yesterday. He talks about garlic. He talks about quinoa. He talks about true cinnamon. He talks about broccoli. He talks about cabbage. He talks about beans. He talks about avocados. And he talks about cantaloupe. Now you'll notice there's no meat on this list at all. However, that being said, my grandfather did eat fish. I just want to put that out there. So in this top 10 food section, he talks about the history of the food, and then he talks about the recommendations that he gives, and then he talks about the benefits of each food. So that's very, very cool. Then that goes on for quite a bit of time for people that are curious, you know, what did he eat, what did he do, why, and so on and so forth. This is great. And then, okay, so I'm getting to the end of this book. See, we're almost done with the book now. He also has his different honorable mentions, right? Other foods that he's very fond of. So he says honorable mentions. As I stated earlier, there are at least 50 different vegetables, fruits, herbs, spices, and grains that I find very beneficial, not to mention fish. On the previous pages, I singled out 10 for special consideration. I would, however, like to touch on a few more that would also be wise to incorporate into one's diet. They are all extremely healthful, easily found, and can be eaten raw, lightly steamed, or juiced. Obviously, oats need to be prepared per package directions. If you have bad childhood memories of mushy, glue-like oatmeal, I highly recommend steel-cut oats. They are coarser and more real-like than rolled oats. Try them, they're wonderful. Of course, you know, if you have a problem with oats, you know, you have to follow your own body, but, and then in the honorable mentions, he goes through not an exhaustive list, but as he said, he touches on a few. So he talks about asparagus, he talks about apples, he talks about spinach, he talks about tomatoes, onions, carrots, celery, sweet potatoes, kiwis, and then he goes a little bit more into steel-cut oats at the end. Now, then he talks about moderation. He talks about how much food one should eat. And he talks a little bit about the ancient practices of Ayurveda from India. And he talks about sort of common trends in American eating, how people will eat so much that they can barely get up from the table on feast days. Looking at you, Thanksgiving dinner. He talks about the CR way. He talks about, let me see, basically his own lifestyle. So he says, I'm personally convinced that eating a little less wisely while making sure to eat foods that are high in nutrients has a lot to do with my current state of health. Then he talks a little bit about juicing, right? Because he did juice. I believe that there are some videos on this channel where I talk about that, how he didn't throw away any of the scraps that people normally threw away, that he would use that to juice with, because he talks about how all aspects of the plant, you know, even the stems and the leaves, all offer different nutritional properties. And he encourages you to find, you know, your own favorite blends. by being economical in the kitchen. He was a chef after all, and being economical in the kitchen was very important to his profession. This is something that he definitely practiced in his personal life. And then again, he gives a plug to superfood. He talks about superfood, which he actually started taking in 1979. And he was very pro Dr. Schultz, Dr. Richard Schultz's herbal products, because he said it reminded him of his own father. They're soy-free, they're vegan, there's no pesticides, and also Dr. Schultz doesn't skimp on the ingredients. So you'll find that when you take a supplement such as this one, that is, again, highly concentrated powder that contains things like spirulina, chlorella, lemon peel, orange peel, rose hips. It goes on and on and on. I'll post the link where you can check it out. That density of nutrients, you'll find that you're just not as hungry. The reality, or the sad reality, of what we've done to the land and what we've done to the farmland in this country is agribusiness. There's really nothing that is being put back into the soil to keep it nutrient rich. Plants also need to have nutrient rich soil. So this is a way, in which to compensate, for that. If we were able to go back in time, 200 years or 300 years, I can guarantee you that children would actually enjoy eating fruits and vegetables because they actually had a taste to them, because it's the kind of soil, that the fruits and vegetables, nuts, etc., trees that find themselves, that make all the difference in the taste of food, and hence the nutrients that are passed on to us. I hope that makes sense to you, what I'm saying here. And then we get to chapter 4, where he talks about a day in the life. And the quote is, "Growing old is no more than a bad habit, which a busy person has no time to form." And that quote comes from Andre Maurois. So he basically tries to give you just a little bit of a glimpse into what his daily routine is like. When he wakes up, the morning exercise that he does very early, the different activities that he does, the fact that he drinks cinnamon tea, that he even uses lemon with the cinnamon tea. He talks about what he may have for lunch. We already know that he eats oatmeal for breakfast. We knew that he broke his fast with superfood. And then, doing his shopping. He gives you a little glimpse into what's on his shopping list. He talks about his activity of choice, which is actually reading, how he prepares home-cooked meals in the evening for he and his family. At this point, of course, it was his wife, Georgette. And then that he has a rich social life. He goes out to meetings, he goes out with friends, he may go to a restaurant, he may go to a birthday party, that he enjoys going to new places, and how much he enjoys curious people, how much he enjoys having conversations. And then he talks about going to bed. Going to bed early, and how soundly he sleeps, and then he gives his final thoughts at the end of the book. And he says something very sweet at the end of the book, and he says, "I wish I could wave a magic wand and give to you the same determination and knowing that I have. Many people over the years have asked me for advice, and I have shared it freely. They all listen, but only a relative few actually put into practice what I suggest. And yet, it isn't difficult at all. It doesn't take a lot of money or an inordinate amount of time. It only takes a decision that the past doesn't need to equal the future." Then he talks about the way in which one handles emotional issues. He talks about the amount and quality of exercise that you get. He talks about the food, that you put in your mouth. And he talks about good habits that are formed by watching or listening to others. Again, you want to be around positive people, not negative people, right? You want to be around people that affirm life, people that want to live. And um, and then he offers words of encouragement saying, just because you've done something for one way for a long time that isn't serving you, it doesn't mean that you can't change. Again, a call back to flexibility. And then he wishes us well at the end of the book, wishing us a long, healthy, and vital life for everyone, everywhere. So I just wanted to come on here and share a little bit of this, wishing all the dads and fathers out here a happy Father's Day. And, from one man who was certainly a family man, had children, great grandchildren, great grandchildren, who understood what it was to get up and work every day, that it's possible for you to age less and live more. I hope that you enjoyed the time that we spent together here, and I'll be sure to put links in the comments section. Have a wonderful evening. Bye bye now.